welcome to the Bonsai Stuff podcast. I'm Scott Martin from Bonsai Matsu, and welcome you bonsai lunatics. I got told the other day that someone's joined the bonsai cult, but I think it's appropriate. But I think lunatics, pack of lunatics, is probably more appropriate. These people that seem obsessed with these crook necks from looking up at trees as they walk past in parks and spending all this time out pruning, watering, and making up bags of fertilizer. We must seriously look deranged to the rest of the world. But, you know, there's also people that maybe love bonsai but don't realise it just yet. I had a fellow tradie doing some work around the house the other day, and he was here for 3 or 4 days, something like that. And at the end of it, he's like, "Oh, I love the trees, love the bonsai. Tell me about them. Can they be inside?" First question, no, they can't. "Oh, but that looks so good if they were inside." Yeah, but no, they can't. Same thing over and over and over. But it's amazing how just having an exposure to bonsai sparks a flame. And it creates a conversation and gets people thinking. You know, it's not just seeing beautiful trees in pots is incredible. Seriously, it's life-changing. I don't have to tell you anything that you don't know, but it can be life-changing for lots of different people in lots of different ways. And part of the podcast I want to talk to you about today is a segment I'm going to call "Fortune Favours the Brave." So I want to push things a little bit more where maybe you get outside your comfort zone and we help increase the exposure of bonsai around the place, and just little things that you can do to chip away at some of that uncertainty that you may have, or that fear that you might have of putting yourself out there, which again is completely normal. We all have that fear of exposure. God, think about how I felt putting together a bonsai podcast. You know, now 8 seasons later, it's fantastic. The positivity and the bonsai love that gets shared as a result of, you know, taking a daunting first step is brilliant. It's far better than I could ever have hoped for. So from that point of view, I love it. Anyway, the other thing I want to talk to is about a fear of changing your soil mix. Right now, it's smack bang in the middle of repotting season. Trees and dirt everywhere, lots of mess, you know, looking great in new pots, all this excitement that's happening, all this talk about fine feeder roots and you know, pumice, that sort of stuff. But there's a fear of transitioning from where you are possibly now to where ultimately you'll get to. So there's a middle ground. So I'll talk about a couple of stories, including about yours truly going through that process, to hopefully alleviate some of those fears that you may have, or the hesitation that you may have to say, I think we should take the step. But anyway, let's get into it, eh? Now, I would never, ever, ever, ever do anything deliberately to have anybody jeopardise the health of their bonsai. Number one, that's absolute priority for me, no matter what all the other fluff is around the edge, whether it's talking about design or anything. Horticulture for me is the number one priority for your trees, because I know that once that's locked in, once your tree gets to a certain point, then everything just starts to happen. You know, all these options, all these doors open for you. And I know that, one, your tree's going to be really happy, but secondly, you're going to be ecstatic as well. And your bonsai path, your bonsai journey, the personal time that you invest with your trees is going to give you a massive return on your investment. So you're going to feel great. And I know that because that's why I love it. You know, I know the more that I put in with my trees and the more time I spend with them, the more they develop, the more they take steps forward, the more they become the beautiful tree that I know they can be. And, you know, I can help with that journey along the way for them. And so when I say what I'm about to say in this section of the podcast, I don't take it lightly, and I don't mean to push anything on anybody, and everyone's got their own path to go down. But I'll talk about bonsai soil, which is a really muddy grey area. And having just come back from Queensland, up in Brisbane and up in Cairns, and speaking to people up there that are in completely different climates to what I'm in, and everybody in between, all around this beautiful country of ours, I know that there's different reasons for different soil mixes in different climates. I get that. That's the first thing I'm going to put out there. I'm definitely not here to say that my way or the highway, or you have to do it this way because this is the best and that's the only way, and I won't consider listening to anything else. That's rubbish. That's not how I work. And you'll get to a point yourself where you'll know what the best soil is for your trees. So for me, I'll start with my story first, because I'll put myself on the line and tell you exactly what I did. This bonsai professional that's been doing bonsai for most of their life, they're cracking on, been doing it for quite a while now. I'm not going to tell you exactly how long, but quite a while. And I'll reminisce about heading to Japan. A little story that relates directly to this. So before I went to Japan, I was using a standard garden centre bonsai mix. I won't say which one, because it really didn't matter, to be honest. It was just dirt. There was nothing fantastic about it because I gave very little respect to the root system of my trees. I was focused purely on what they look like and what I could do and the skills that I needed to improve the appearance of the trees. So I had no idea. I didn't put two and two together that, it sounds stupid. It sounds so ignorant now looking back on it. And I feel like, I could have been a lot further ahead in my bonsai life if, same story for all of us, but you don't know what you don't know. Right. So, and I wasn't told it. It wasn't a thing of focus. It wasn't talked about at bonsai club meetings. It was really just, fluff about bonsai back then, which was, 30 years ago, 20, 30 years ago, whatever it was. It was just talk about trees. There was talk about styling. There was focus on wiring, all the usual periphery stuff that is nice, but it doesn't give you enough. From my perspective, it's really, it's negligence, not the right word, but it's not right to focus on that stuff without having the horticultural stuff first and foremost. But I also think that back then it wasn't talked about quite so much as what it is now. Now we are very educated, and the world's a small place thanks to the internet, and we can get access to information and we can share information, and there's that explosion of knowledge that we have for everything around the world. So I don't, I sort of kick myself in the bum every now and then thinking, if only. But it's also nice when I hear these similar stories of what I'm going to tell you from other people around the place, around the world. It's like, well, okay, yep, I can help you on that path because I've got real life experience going through exactly what you've been through and exactly what you're talking about, and let me try and shortcut that learning curve for you, because it took me a while. Thick as two short planks sometimes, but I was using just a bog standard potting mix, nothing extraordinary. Barely even tying the trees in the pots, and wondering why my trees looked unhealthy and maybe weren't quite as good as what they were. And anyway, so I get to Japan and I sit there and I focus on all this stuff, learning about wiring and shaping and flow and directional movement and blah blah blah, all that other stuff, and then start talking, quietly with them and say, okay, so what? I can see the trees are in something different. What's the soil mix that you use? And they reel it off to me, and I went, okay, great. And they said, what do you use? And I went, don't know, really just average stuff, nothing great. And they said, well, how are your trees going? I said, well, here's some photos. And they went, yeah, okay, so you really need to fix the tree. The tree needs some greater stability. It needs a better root system because, and it sort of starts opening my eyes up to think about all these possibilities. So I went home with so many notes about stuff and talk, pages and pages and pages about soil mix and why they use akadama and blah blah blah, all the different things that I could leach out of them, to be honest. Get home and it gets to later on that year, it gets to repotting time. It's like, okay, so I look at their mix and I think, yeah, that's not going to work here in Melbourne, in Australia, where I am. It's just not going to work, flat out. I knew better. It won't work. So I took bits and pieces of what they did, which was primarily back then, from memory, it was just adding scoria to a standard mix, which is still better. It's still a step forward. Like I'm not saying that's the worst thing you can do in the world, because it sort of opens up that the soil air capacity. It allows for better root system. Anyway, and also focused in on tying the trees in a hell of a lot better than what I was doing in the past. Potted them all up. Spring comes around, starts growing. Everything's looking okay, not great, not fantastic. Anyway, so then later the next year, went back to Japan, and I had all this new information, new photos, before and afters, new soil mix, whatever. Get over there, sit down with them, and they're like, "Okay, cool. So how's everything looking at home?" Because I started straight away want to talk about soil mix again, and I couldn't understand about this akadama, and thinking it's a Japanese soil, and I remember when I was over there the first time we did an akadama soil run, and I've told this story before on the podcast, but basically it was at a 7-Eleven on a highway that you pull up, and there was just a pallet of this bagged dirt akadama available for next to nothing. So it was readily available, not from a special magical bonsai soil place. It was just at a truck stop, effectively. Go in, load up the truck, and take off. So I was struggling at that point to get my head around the use of these different medium, and they sort of said, "Okay, well let's start. Show us the trees. Let's have a look." Looked at the trees, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, well, they look okay." I thought they'd be a little bit better. Let's talk about your soil. And they said, "How did you go with the mix?" And I went, "Yeah, no, I use this." And it was just same, but with a bit of scoria. And they're like, "Okay, well that's your problem right there. That's where you're having the issue. You need to get something which is going to create and promote a finer feeder root system." It's like, right. And then I started thinking, okay, so the finer the roots, the more water it can take up quicker, which means that your transpiration, burning of leaves and stuff like that won't happen, and fertilising becomes far more efficient because your finer root system can take up the fertiliser as opposed to just passing through, and your roots can breathe as opposed to being suffocated by this fine, silty soil, which means everything's going to be healthier. Which, if I can get that part of the tree right, if I can get the engine right, then the rest of it's got to go. And they're like, bingo. And it was like someone pulled back a curtain from me, the light bulb went off, and it was like, oh my God, what have I been struggling with for so long? And all the different pieces of the puzzle start coming together quite nicely for me. It's like I love my time in Japan, but I was absolutely itching to get home to repot. It's like I thought, I've got to change this. I have to make a positive change. Anyway, get back, get out the soil mix, buy all the different components, and thought, okay, so, and by this stage, don't forget, I wasn't really doing much as Bonsai Matsu. I was a little bit of educational stuff, but it was really the early days of me starting up this education side of the business and having people that relied on my advice. So I was looking at it from my point of view, going, okay, what's the best thing for me? What do I do with my trees? So it was like, okay, so they're talking akadama, all right, go and buy some akadama. They're talking about pumice. All right, let's get some pumice in there. I think at that stage it might have been dynamite, which was readily available and quite hard before the mine shut down. And anyway, so for want of a better example, because it may not be relevant anymore, it was sort of moved into pumice, and then it was the scoria side of things as well. And I know from talking to them in Japan, they had different ratios for different trees, and more akadama, for instance, for developed deciduous trees or refined trees. When you wanted stronger root growth, you moved more towards a river sand type mix. And I was thinking, my head's spinning with all this information. It's like I've got to simplify this. I've got to break this down to something which is consistent and repeatable. Like otherwise I'm going to have these individual files on every single tree. So if I'm repotting on average, let's say every 3 years, it's like, how do you remember what you've done 3 years ago to each individual tree when you've got hundreds and hundreds of these things in the yard? So I was like, okay, well let's go to a basic mix. Let's make a base level of whatever it is that I'm going to be doing. So it was like 1 to 1 to 1. I thought, well, that's the ratio can't get much easier. Mixed it all into a tub and thought, yep, that looks fantastic. That looks great.
We'll be right back. Do you know that feeling you get when you score front row seats to a Broadway show? Well, this is kind of like that, except you don't have to leave your couch. This week on Laugh, Love, Law, I'm hanging out with Broadway superstar Lady Hanau. And trust me, we go way beyond the standing ovations. We laugh, we get real, we swap stories, and yes, there might even be a little singing. So grab your headphones and join us for an episode full of laughter, heart, music, and a little Broadway magic.
I can deal with that. I can live with it, and put the trees in it. And lo and behold, the results were amazing. Chalk and cheese, like a radical change, instantaneous for everything that I'd done. And don't forget, by this stage, like I've been doing bonsai a long time, so the watering was getting, I was going to say it was perfect, but there's no way it's perfect still. The watering was much better. My fertilising regime, I was really on top of, spraying the trees and maintenance and all that sort of stuff, and I had timings down pat, but the soil part of it I just couldn't get right. So I was amazed at how quickly things changed. And then I went, there seemed to be some kind of change in the akadama that I came across anyway, and this is just me individually. It may be very different now, so I'm not about to start bagging akadama or anything like that. If you've got it, use it, fantastic. But for me, I found it got a bit soft and mushy and broke down really fast, which I don't know if it was just a batch or from transportation from Japan or whatever it was. And the prices seemed to be quite relatively high, which was okay when it was my trees that I was working with. But when my mindset changed and I started, Bonsai Matsu started to get bigger and bigger, and people would be saying, okay, what soil do you use? It's like, okay, so it's got to be repeatable and it's got to be accessible. It's got to be at a price point which everybody can afford. There's no point saying I put gold dust into my bonsai, that's why they look great, but the normal person can't afford it. I just think that's completely the opposite of how I think bonsai education for me should be to everybody. It's got to be easily accessible and it's got to be repeatable. So then I thought, well, okay, the main component that I'm not happy with, the other parts, pumice and scoria, no worries, I can source that stuff. That's easily available. But I decided to change out the akadama for pine nuggets because it's got an absorption base. It breaks down, provides a bit more nitrogen to the trees as it breaks down and ages further in the pot. I thought, well, I'll give that a go. So then my ratio of my mix was 1 to 1 to 1 of each of those things: pine nuggets and pumice and scoria. So I thought, give it a go. Went back, talked about it in Japan. They went, yeah, okay, well, I can see why you wouldn't use akadama. That's understandable. I can see why you substituted that. Let's have a look at the results. Happy days. And from then I can tell you, I just have not looked back. And it's something that a lot of people can use, and I'll shout it from the hills to say it's really simple. I don't change my mix for any of my trees. Sure you can, but I've tried it. I couldn't see a magic change in the results that I was achieving with my trees. So I thought if I can just keep it base level, simple, repeatable, consistent, then I know year on year on year exactly what's going to be happening with the trees, and I can do it again next year or next time that I repot. If it's 3, 4, 5 years down the track, then I know that I can still give the same soil mix and get the same results, and I can water the same way and I can fertilize the same way. And it sort of lifted a weight off my shoulders as well for the great soil hunt that used to be going on in my head to try and pinpoint something down. And like I said, I'm not using this time to say to you this is the only way, but I'm telling you my story, and hopefully what it can do, and what I'm hoping the purpose of this section of the podcast is to say that where you are now, it's okay to be scared of doing a complete 180 on the soil that you're using, the potting, the mix that you're using for your bonsai, because I get it. I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified I was going to kill the trees. But it's a real trust me moment that when you do make that transition, when you do make that change, it is like the misty veil pulls back and you look at your trees and the trees look at you in a different light, and you connect and they say thank you. They say thank you because they're no longer struggling. They start taking leaps forward, not just one or two steps. They bolt forward. They run as fast as they can to the future because the most important part is the root system of the tree. 100%. That's the most important thing. And this transition from a potting mix to a bonsai soil. Sure, if you need to, talking to people up in at Beamer in Brisbane recently, they're doing exactly the same thing. They're transitioning from one to the next. They take a club bonsai mix that they're a bit scared about, or maybe a bit cautious about, a bit nervous about, and add 50% of a potting mix into it. It's a good step. It'll put you on the right path, and it'll show you that yep, sure, there's a better mix out there than a standard potting mix for sure. Won't give you the best results that you're seeing, and I strongly encourage you that I say this over and over and over, that no matter where you are around this beautiful world that we're on, if you find someone that's growing beautiful bonsai and you love what they do and they've been doing it consistently, I'm not talking about someone who's been doing it for about 5 minutes, and they've been doing it consistently, then have an honest conversation with them and ask them what soil mix they're using. Ask them all the different routines and just drill down a little bit and pick into it so you can then take that yourself and know that in your climate, in your environment, for your trees, that you know pretty safely what can be done from a soil mix point of view. And the sooner, this is the part, the sooner you make that transition with your trees, the sooner you say, bugger it, I'm in. I promise you, the sooner your trees will get better, and by far the better your bonsai gene will be. And like I said, I understand the hesitation. I understand that being scared. I've got the experience. I've been there, and I can tell you that with my arm around your shoulder, it'll be okay. I promise. It'll be something that you'll look back on and go, like me, I should have done it earlier. Kick yourself in the bum. I should have made that change earlier, because what you see with your trees once you do make that transition is chalk and cheese. I really like the idea that in some small way I can provide encouragement, positive encouragement, to anyone when it comes to any part of their bonsai. Like I said, whether it's to do with your soil and encouraging you to take that first step, or whether it's to actually take up bonsai, or it's to put your toe in the water and say, I've never had a pine before, I'm going to have a pine, or to grab a native that's indigenous to your area and work with that and see how that does. Whatever it is, whatever little small part, no matter how significant or insignificant it is, I really push myself to make sure that that's always on my mind, always providing a solid foundation or a solid base for anyone that loves bonsai to keep continually taking steps forward, because it's great for us. It keeps me on the straight and narrow, I can guarantee you, and it makes me feel fantastic. Like, even just talking about it now makes the hair stand up on my arm, because I get so enthusiastic. I'm not sure if you can hear it in my voice, but I do. I get honestly so enthusiastic about bonsai and trees in general that there's, I don't know, every time I think I've peaked and I've hit the maximum I can possibly love a bonsai, I walk past it and I see it and I go, oh, that's fantastic. Mowing the lawns, just very, very recently. Went past a tree that I'd worked on, Scots pine that I'd worked on recently, and it made me just stop the mower, just sit there and look at it for a couple of seconds and go, oh, geez, that's nice. That is so good. I'm so happy with that tree, and get all soppy with it. Anyway, then move on and keep mowing the lawn. But what I want to encourage you now, or pass on these words. I was going to say words of wisdom, but I don't think I've said anything that smart. Is that fortune favours the brave, really, and that step into the unknown, that leap of faith. It's far better to take that step and feel a little bit uncomfortable just while you're taking it until your foot lands than to never take it at all. To sit back and just tread water is not going to provide the satisfaction or the personal growth or the growth in your bonsai ever. So that bit of that, oh geez, I'm not sure. Seriously, it's so worth it. I was talking to people up in the Cairns Bonsai Club, and I love getting up and travelling in our country, seeing different people and meeting different people. But they're having a bonsai show, and there's that real hesitation on people putting trees up for display. Now, I can understand it. Like, I don't say these things and say, how could that possibly happen? No, that's insane. That's crazy. No. I'm saying I get it. Been there, done it myself. Been terrified. Been so scared that it took years and years before I actually had the guts to put a tree up and put myself out there on display in front of everyone. But if you're in doubt and if you're wondering whether you should or whether you shouldn't, I've got a little tip for you. Go along to another bonsai show. That's nothing related to you, and just stand there. Just spend 5 minutes watching the general public and kids especially walk through a bonsai display and get them to look at trees. Now, you'll have your own opinions. You'll look at trees. I don't care how much experience you've got. You'll have stuff that you love and stuff that you don't like when you walk through a bonsai show. Great, no problem. Keep it to yourself. Never spread bad vibes about anyone's trees, because that's absolutely rude and the wrong thing to do. But you'll have your own personal opinions. Stand back and listen to how the general population who don't possibly at that stage appreciate or love bonsai quite as much as what you do. And I guarantee you won't hear one negative thing said. You'll hear squeals of delight. I've watched little kids, young kids walking through the place, and trees that I thought they'd just walk straight past, they love. They're just infatuated with. It might be the colour of the pot. It could be the bark on the tree or the foliage or a flower or whatever it is. They're not looking at whether it's a world-class bonsai. And most people walk through and they just go, oh, yeah, I've got one of those in the garden. That's amazing. That's fantastic. So you don't always have to have a tree that's willing to take out an international prize to be able to put it on show. And good clubs have different areas to show the general population, hey, this is a beginner section. This is where sort of people start. And there's nothing wrong with that. And they might have higher end trees where they go, okay, this is the pinnacle. These are high end, really good quality bonsai. And this is where the beginners trees, over time, they will work up to this point. They will get there. But it's a process, and it's got to be wide, it's got to be trained, it's got to be developed, it's got to have lots of love and lots of nurturing to get to that point. And that's when people in the general public or non-bonsai lunatics look at things and go, I get it now. I understand. It's not just simply you take a tree and it's absolutely perfect. There's a journey, there's a process, there's a path, there's all this stuff that goes into the background to get from there to there. And that painting the picture for somebody is so super important. Other art forms don't have what we have. We've got a living medium that progresses over time, and we get the joy, the privilege of being able to put a thumbprint on it and say, okay, this branch is going to go there, that branch is going to go there, the trunk's going to look like this, and I'm going to pick this pot or this container and I'm going to position it in the container like this, and I'm going to, whatever it is, put it with a certain accent or whatever. But and it changes. So you'll show a tree this year and then next year it'll be different. And I love seeing the same trees come back, because you may not get to go into people's yards to see what they're growing and how they're growing and what they're doing. But by having those trees put on display allows you to see the development and suddenly look at it and go, wow, look at what's happened there. Have a chat to them. What did you do different? Or I love how you've removed that branch, or I love what you've done here. And it can provide the encouragement to each individual, or to you, to say, well, I can do that as well. And putting trees on display makes you work hard. You get them to be cleaned up, you do the maintenance, you prepare them well in advance. For me, it's normally 6 months before a show that I will start prepping the tree. I'll have a pick saying I know what's going to be put on display, and I'm going to start working on that. I'm going to do, if it's a seasonal display, it's, let's say it's spring, it's, I'm going to get something that flowers, or maybe hopefully new growth. Or if it's winter, it's going to be a nice fine silhouette or a pine or something like that. Or if it's autumn, it's a deciduous, whatever it is. But I'll be preparing a long way out from the show to say that I want to have the tree in peak fighting condition. I want this thing cherry ripe. I want it absolutely perfect, as good as I possibly can. Doesn't mean that the tree has to be a brilliant tree to be in the best condition it possibly can. It's the best condition it can be at that time. So having a tree that's, maybe in development, that's, maybe only been in bonsai for a few years, guaranteed people want to see that. I want to see that stuff. I want to talk to the person who owns that tree and say, what's your plan? What are you going to do next? How are you going to get from that? What's your vision? When you look at your tree, what's perfection? What's it going to be like? And so it's really important to take that really brave step to doing a display, to putting your tree out there, putting yourself out there, because I will guarantee in not 100% of cases, not even 99.9, 100% of cases, you will be a better bonsai practitioner for it, and the people that see your trees will love bonsai even more. Guaranteed. The other thing is, do a workshop. There's a real fear or hesitation often to front up to a workshop, because, and this is the kicker that I find really, really, really funny. Again, been there, done that, me. This was me. But now I look back and I think it's crazy. Your trees aren't good enough to do a workshop. Now, that is in every single case incorrect. Everybody has a tree that is suitable of doing a workshop. What you need is a proper workshop host that can work with a variety of different trees, not just walk in and say, well, unless it's a masterpiece, I'm not touching it. You want someone that can walk into a room and have someone with a masterpiece on one end of the table and a stick in a pot at the other, and be able to work with them. That's when everyone gets value out of it. You should go to a workshop hoping to walk home with a few nuggets of gold. And the nuggets that you take home will be different from the person sitting beside you, and different again from the person across the room from you with another tree. You don't go there to try and learn everything. It's like, okay, for my tree at this point, I've picked up this, and this. I've picked up this skill, and that's what workshops are about. And I guarantee that everyone that is standing in front of you hosting the workshop, they will have the skill to give you some of those gold nuggets. You'll have to filter through some stuff and ask the right questions and make sure you get it on the table in front of them and say, okay, tell me about this. And that's what you're getting out of a workshop. So I would strongly encourage you to be brave, and you will not get laughed at by whatever tree rocks into a workshop. I guarantee it. I have done hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of workshops, and there is not one single tree that's been presented to me that hasn't had a possibility of coming out the other end better and having a path for success to become a beautiful bonsai. I guarantee you that. So be brave when it comes to that. Be brave when it comes to working on your own trees in the privacy of your home, and you're looking at them, and I talked about significant branch removal or height reduction. That takes being brave. That step, work it on your phone, draw pictures, cover it up with a cloth, whatever it is, but be brave, because when you take that step, when you take the course of action that you know is right to do, but you're a bit hesitant on taking that step, you won't look backwards. You can't look backwards once you've cut it off anyway, but I guarantee you won't look backwards, and your tree and your love for that tree will get better and better and stronger every time, because whatever was giving you issues, whatever you were worrying about, suddenly not there anymore. So you can keep taking steps forward with the tree because you've been brave. And finally, be brave about your soil mix. All right, so this is the link to the previous section. You've got to be brave about it. You've got to trust the person that's giving you the advice. You've got to know that they've got the tree and your best interest at heart, and that they would never, ever say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing by you. And I promise you that getting away from a bagged potting mix going towards a bonsai soil that's more suitable for trees than what it is for a pot plant is going to make the world of difference to the health of your tree. And once the health of your tree starts to take off, buckle in, because you've got a bit of work to do with keeping up with all the pruning and management. But that's exciting. That's really good. So be brave. And just like that, folks, we're done. So hopefully this is a really encouraging podcast. Hopefully this is one that makes you take that little bit of hesitant step, and then when your foot lands firmly, you can take another step and another step and another step. So I don't say these things from an ivory tower, leaning down saying, you must do this, you must do that. No. It's up to you individually to determine what you're comfortable with and what's okay. All I can do is provide that little bit of a nudge to say, come on, just take a step. Just do the right thing for your tree, because health is everything. I've said it enough in this podcast, but it's so true that knowing that your tree is going to get stronger year on year on year provides such clarity when it comes to your planning process. If you've got a strong, healthy tree, then your plan starts to be fulfilled. There's no point having a tree that's got really poor roots that you say, I want to grow X, Y, Z, I want to do this, I want to do that. You look back in a year's time and go, well, it didn't do that. It actually died back a little bit, or it looks the same. Nothing's changed. These plans don't seem to work. That's common. That really happens quite a lot. So by taking those brave steps forward, the brave bonsai steps, then, and this is where your bonsai network comes into it. The group of people that you talk to about your trees online or in person or whatever it is, talk about these sort of things and listen and take things on board, especially if you're really happy with how someone's doing something. Then take that information on board and make the step forward. And then when you find what's right for you and you get that consistency, try not to chop and change things a lot. I was talking about something the other day, and it was like, well, I can't really see a reason for that. I'm really happy with my trees, how they are. They're growing fantastically. They're developing. I'm hitting all my targets. The trees are strong and healthy. I'm not having any issues with regard to health. So adding something extra in there just because it's becoming a trend or whatever it is, or it's just someone seen something online that is being done in another part of the world, does that mean it's applicable to me? No, and that's why I'm sort of adding that caution layer in there as well, that working and learning locally is fantastic. You can learn a lot internationally. You can pick things up, a lot of techniques, but this horticultural stuff really comes down to a localized level and what's working really well for you and your bonsai community in your environment. Anyway, thanks for listening in. I love you all. I honestly mean that. I do. Thank you to subscribers. Thank you to everybody that's reached out to me and continues to reach out and check in. And thank you if you've come up to me while I'm in a foreign place, not at my home, and you tell me that you love the podcast. I can tell you, might seem like I brush it off a little bit at the time, but I think about that a lot, and I thank you for it. It means a lot. I'm just a humble person who doesn't write it too much, but it means a lot to me. So if you do see me and you do listen to the podcast, please let me know, because it means a hell of a lot to this old man. Anyway, thanks for listening. Till next time, happy bonsai.